Jimmy?
Yes.
Would you like to come downstairs for some cereal with milk and banana? Hold. The pork chops and broccoli?
Yeah, cereal with banana and milk, but no pork chops or broccoli is my favorite. I'll be right down.
Okay, Jimmy. I'll see you down there.
Jimmy's boy, did Jimmy recess into pre-puberty?
Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great... I can't contain himself. The great Chris Schaefer. How's it going today?
Yeah,
I've been normal day.
I've been getting people yelling at me in the Jason Rothman yes voice on Twitter, just yelling. That's the tagline. I think that tells you how much they like Jimmy. The yes, even after all these years, the yes is stuck around, which you don't necessarily do every week. The Jimmy, I don't hear.
Well,
I don't hear.
You know, the thing with Jimmy is they're very motivated, but they're kind of quiet because I try to let it go every few months. I just want to get out of that business.
Yep.
But I can't get out. Every time I get out, where is it? Where is it? We tuned in for that. Where is
Jimmy.
it? Yeah. And then I get some people who email and they say, I don't get what that is. Please stop. What is that? So the audience is very split.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But what can I do? It's a thing.
Absolutely don't stop. That's
clearly I can't do anything. No, I can't control
it. You should not stop. No.
It's kind of like a good luck charm.
Jason, I have to say, before we start the show here, I am excited because right before we recorded, I got a phone call. A voicemail. Somebody called the number on my website from a guy here in East Texas. Immediately was familiar with his accent. Sounded like home. And he told me a correction. Literally,
Did he say Louisville?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't say.
Is that how you could tell?
He didn't. No,
he didn't say Louisville.
We don't talk
Kentucky?
about. We don't talk about Louisville. No.
He didn't leave you a voicemail talking about Louisville, Kentucky.
No, the first correction that was not from Jason Rothman came in, and so I just have to issue a correction. Apparently, one of us said at some point that there were 2 million sites on the display network, and he said that Google is stating that there are 3 million. So. There we go. I thank you for that. That sounds probably right. We're up to 3 million now. And it so happens to be that we are doing another episode about display campaigns. So now we can say you've got 3 million different placements out there that you can show on different websites, opportunities, things like that. So not even 2. Jason, just in the past week, it's increased to 3 million.
Kind of didn't talk about display quite a bit for years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's very popular these days.
Yeah, like 2018, 2019, like didn't mention it. Search. So yeah, people are speaking. Our patrons are helping us decide what how we focus our podcast. And if you'd like to be a part of that, you can join us. Just go to paidsearchpodcast.com, join our patron group, and you too can vote and give your voice on some of that. And we'd like to be interactive on that. The lowest level is $2 a month, so pretty cheap and effective, which happens to be
Chris, the topic of today. I go on other people's Patreons a lot and see what they're doing and try to get ideas and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do kind of like extra shows or after shows like we do. Mm-hmm. I have yet to find anybody charging $2 a month for 4 shows.
Bottom of the bucket.
And I think it's because they know Patreon with all the fees and stuff, $2 gets knocked down pretty good.
25 cents on me.
So, but we locked that one in. So that was a smart move by me.
Never increased our price. We have never...
Nope.
Regretted to the point of changing it, that $2 rate. Ouch.
Well, Chris, you have a very promising title here, Cheap and Effective Display Campaigns in Google Ads. We'll talk about this very specific strategy that you've come up with and when you use it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then in Patreon, we're going to go over some detailed audience ideas for different kinds of industries that you came up with that you thought were interesting and wanted to share. And so we'll talk about that in Patreon. And then today we've got this specific strategy for the display network. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll get to that right after you tell us about Opteo.
That's right. You're listening to this show because you want to be better at Google Ads. You spend time in Google Ads. You are running campaigns for your clients. You're running a campaign for your own business. You're running campaigns for your your employer. You work in-house. You work for an agency. This segment here about Opteo is for you because this tool is for those of you that have to spend day in and day out either on one account or 15 accounts or 100 accounts, and it's designed to get more done in Google Ads. This tool is an online software. Okay, so you go to opteo.com and you log in. Okay, and you are presented with a screen with your accounts, and this screen will have a priority level of what to look at. So you can focus on the biggest priority items first, move down into the medium and the low priority. This is a great way to do things because you know what happens when you get into Google Ads? You're like a bunch of monkeys. You immediately look at the shiny thing and you start clicking on that. And that might not be the most effective thing for you to do. So you need to make your time in Google Ads as effective as possible. And that is what Opteo is about. And here's the best news of all. You can get an 8-week free trial. Go ahead and go to opteo.com and you'll see a free trial for just 4 weeks. We're offering an 8-week free trial. Double the time just for going to opteo.com/PSP2, using the chat box at the bottom, telling them you heard about the show through the Paid Search Podcast, and they will offer you that special deal exclusively from our show. So go ahead and try it out. You'll like it. We love it. Many of our listeners have already signed up for the paid version of it because they realize it's worth the investment.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So we've been talking a lot about display. I think one reason display is so popular, and let me know if you agree with this, Chris, is because with search, we kind of know what's realistic. We know what to expect on a good campaign, on an okay campaign, and then we know kind of when a campaign's not working. It's pretty obvious. But the possibilities are fairly defined in kind of our mind's eyes. But with display, there's so many ways to go about it. The network is so huge. There's so much inventory that the outcomes, I think, are spread across such a wide range that display success can mean so many things to so many different people that the possibilities, they're very inspiring. And so do you kind of get that vibe from people when they talk about the display network, like, hey, we're only scratching the surface, let's figure out what's there? Do you think that's why it's kind of very popular these days among our audience?
I think, well, personally, my thought, and from what I've heard from our patrons, is the lure is because CPC on a search campaign can be so restrictive, especially for small budget campaigns. And I think the fact that you can get clicks at 5 times the rate, 10 times the rate, depends on whatever your search CPC is. If you're paying $10 a click on Google.com and you can get stuff for 35 cents on display, even if the quality is kind of crappy, it's still worth the investment to try things like that. That's what I assume most people, because that's what I'm interested in, is a large volume. And if I can get 0.01% of those, to be a success, I'm still ahead.
What's another fun thing about it from just a user manager perspective is you can do a lot with it. You can get a lot of data. You can test ideas and find out if they work quickly and cheaply because there's usually so much inventory and you don't have to bid a lot. And it leads to a lot of just a lot of idea generation. So you've come up with a very particular strategy that you are saying is both cheap and effective. And so I guess let's start off here. What is the goal of this strategy? What kind of situation would you find yourself in, maybe for a client, when you would recommend this kind of strategy?
Okay, so I want to define effective. When I say effective, I want to lower the bar a bit because I don't necessarily mean conversions and phone calls and form fills and lead generation. I'm not talking about tons and tons of that. Okay, so if anything on this show, we are very practical, down to earth. We're not gonna blow your mind with these pie in the sky type of ideas that are totally ridiculous and get your hopes up and you're gonna fail your campaign for your clients and lose your business. I want you guys to be successful in what you do and to help your businesses and your clients. So I'm going to tell you this. The first goal is it's going to avoid the crap of the display campaign. And I said that. I don't know, Jason, there might be that, when I'm checking my mailbox, just like you said, for saying that there is crap on the display network, I may get that same.
Are you saying for one business, you would not want to show up on all 3 million opportunities out there? I think this is wouldn't be a good fit for a particular business?
It's a very good way of saying it, yes. There are some places...
It's a bold claim, brother. It's a bold claim.
Yeah, I know. Maybe my dog grooming business that I'm advertising doesn't belong on all 3 million sites. So the idea is I want you to get real clicks from people that have a small degree of interest in your service or product. Okay? Say that again. This is real people, real clicks with a small degree of interest in your service or product.
Is this the put the odds in your favor kind of display strategy?
I like that. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Okay, so the goal is to take those 3 million websites, apps, YouTube videos, whatever, and shrink it down to what audience, what websites, whatever you want to call it, whatever part of finding the little microscopic portion of the display network out there, the overall display network, the little portion that actually could produce good traffic for you and help you grow your business.
Yeah.
Put the odds in your favor.
That's it.
So really, in terms of what advertisers it's for, it's fair to say every business, basically?
Sure.
Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Like every business can benefit from this kind of thinking about the display network?
And in Google Ads, in my thinking, there's two different types of businesses. There's businesses with super small spins and businesses with really, really big spins. There's lots of different industries and verticals and all types of different ways people spin it. But in reality, it comes with, do you have a lot of budget to work with or a little budget? And this works for both. You can do this if you have $200 a month to work with, or you have $200,000 a month to work with. Both of them can accomplish, and it's because of the versatility of the display network.
And the beautiful thing is, just like search, we also have impression share columns for display. Impression share, display impression share lost you to rank, your bids, display impression share lost you to budget. So you can start small, and then if you like the results, you can look at how much you're missing due to your budget and kind of ramp it up. So Chris, when we get into how to build a cheap and effective, put your odds in your favor display campaign, common things come to mind: targeting, settings, ads, all that kind of stuff. So let's start off with the display aspect of it. Your targeting. What are those audiences, placements, topics, keywords? What does this strategy go with?
Okay. So I want you to avoid, when you're building this, getting too complex. So I'm going to stick with two things: topics and audiences. Create an ad group for topics and create an ad group for audiences. That's pretty much what I want you to go with. Now, as far as choosing which audiences and topics, that's not the conversation we're going to have for this podcast. But I think it's okay to have multiple audiences in one ad group and multiple topics in another ad group. Don't mix them. Don't put topics and audiences together. We'll talk about that in a minute. But one can have multiple topics and one have multiple audiences.
Well, I already feel relief. I feel a great pressure off of my shoulders, because if you're telling me to go into a display campaign and to make a great topic, if you will, by selecting a bunch of keywords, I would have to know what keywords to select and put in as display keywords.
Stressful.
If you're telling me to go find amazing YouTube videos and websites to show my ads on, I have to go find them as placements. But now these great pressures are off of me, and I can just kind of have Google do that for me with topics and with audiences. And knowing what I know about you, and I know a lot of things about you.
Yes.
I know you better than yourself.
That's true.
What I know you're doing there, even though you didn't bring it up, is you are taking a shot at both aspects of the display network, the content and the user. And you're putting in one ad group as the content, the topics. Google, I don't care about the user. Google, I don't care who the person is. I want to show up on websites and videos that are about these topics, content. And then you're in the other ad group, you're going after the person, the user, the human being, the soul. And you're saying, I want people who are in this audience. Now, let me just ask you real quick. Do you have any preference on affinity, custom intent, or in market? Or when you say audience, are you saying just try a bunch of audiences?
Yeah,
what makes sense?
At this point, there's so many people listening with so many different needs and, things that they want to try and attract clicks from. So in reality, I don't care. Pick whatever you think. And if you want more details, join our Patreon group. We're going to talk more about affinity and in-market and topics in that after show. But really just pick something that's interesting to you, because again, it's supposed to be cheap. We'll talk about that in a second. Cheap and effective. Just test it, try it. Don't worry, put a small budget on it.
You don't have a beef with affinity, a beef with in-market. You think you've seen situations where any kind of audience can work as long as it's relevant.
Sure.
Any type. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So one final thing, audience, you better put on targeting and not observation. I always feel the need to throw that out there.
Sure.
Because it's so crucial. And you should add that column attributes and make sure you're on targeting for this strategy. So then, Chris, what are you doing with we'll get to bidding in a second, but what are you doing with your settings, your geography, location, and your schedule?
Okay. Ad schedule, and this is just a small thing, just a little tweak, but I want you to avoid that midnight to 1 a.m. time. So whatever time your account is set for, whatever time zone your account is in, avoid that midnight to 1, because there's a reset on the budget, and I often see spikes at that midnight hour that may not be present from, let's say, the 10 to 11, 11 to 12 time, and then suddenly there will be a spike. So first, to a small degree, consider blocking that midnight to 1 a.m. time. Next, if you want to get a little more risky, you can consider limiting to just business hours. If you want to only show during business hours, it's going to limit your reach and maybe make things a little more expensive because it's only prime time that you're showing on. But that's the second thing. So as far as ad schedule goes, that's my thoughts. And as far as geographic targeting goes, listen, and this is this is our show. This is half my show, and I'm going to make a statement. And there are half. Yeah, I'm going to say it's half.
Okay. All right.
The thing is, I'm not going to suggest you do anything less than county level. Here in the U.S., we have the states and we have multiple counties. So if you're outside the U.S., whatever's going to be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I don't want you to go less than that. I don't want you to go to what we refer to as zip code level or little small radius levels, with a couple miles, couple kilometers types of stuff. Don't do that. You got to open your mind up here. Do not focus on the fact that they have to be 2 miles away. Forget it. This is if you're worried about that stuff, stop. Listen to a different episode because you're going to be too stressed about this whole thing.
Okay, so the super locked down, super trying to get the exact perfect traffic, kind of get out of that search mindset. Mm-hmm. This is more, I don't know, I'm just in my head, I'm seeing bodies of water. Like it's just flowing. It's trying to put the odds in your favor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leakage, but overall, it can work when it works. Anything you don't want, anything to avoid here. And by the way, as we're getting through this ain't that tough. It's kind of simple. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I don't want you to do is to get stressed about the stuff I talk about. I've talked about it other times where you have different bidding levels and, the complexities of, having 15 different ad groups with different It's kind of, you know, I don't want you to have 15 different ad groups. You know, each one has a different topic. Each one has a different audience. There's no reason why you couldn't do all of that at the beginning with one ad group for just all the topics and one ad group for all the audiences. So the one thing I want you to avoid is complexity. And that's why I'm suggesting larger geographic targeting. And as we'll talk about now, either manual bids or CPM automated bidding. Just keep it simple. I don't care which one you do, but the main thing is keep the cost per click low. You know, do CPM bidding. If you don't understand how CPM works, what you do is, you know, if you choose $10 CPM, you take that and divide it by 1,000. So if you have a $10 CPM, you are effectively bidding 1 cent per view. Cost per million is, or cost per 1,000 is actually what that's referring to. So 10 divided by 1,000 is 1 cent per impression, and that's what you're essentially doing. So start with that. Start with $10 CPM. Pretty low.
And I'm gonna say, you know, even if you want to go more simple, like if you're brand new to this, hey, it's coming from me. So this is how open I am to these ideas. Maybe a max clicks automated strategy with some kind of cap, like a $1 cap or a $2 cap, and
sure,
just to let them kind of do it for you and see what's out there.
At this point, I'm fine with automated. You know, I want it to be. Maybe I could even put an extra simple, cheap, and effective. You know, simple, cheap, and effective.
Simple. Yeah,
I want it to be simple.
All right, and then blocking mobile apps and blocking unwanted topics.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way. I was looking at someone's display campaign the other day, trying to diagnose it, like how's it going, that kind of thing. And they had a remarketing display campaign working great. They had they had an overall display campaign, and I showed them the placements on this audit I was doing for them. And like, there's a very kind of industrial business company, and there were just a ton of mobile apps and games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we kind of sometimes say maybe look at blocking these is because if you don't, they seem to overwhelm, in my experience, the placement report. So you're saying right off the bat, you're open to excluding all the mobile app categories just to try to get on websites and YouTube channels?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's overwhelming. It's not because I think every mobile app placement is a waste. It's because at this point, just like you said, if I leave it wide open, you know, it can show on everything. In that case, it's going to be pretty overwhelming. You're going to get a whole lot of it. So at this point, I would suggest removing it completely. So we talked about what to target. Now we're talking about what to block. So if you don't know what we're talking about, how to block those mobile apps, consider our Patreon. I've done some videos and we've talked about it before, but or just Google it and look it up. YouTube, you can find out how to block mobile apps in Google Ads. The other thing is blocking unwanted topics. You can go to topics and then click excluded. And on that page, you can choose topics. One example of a topic that I like to exclude, entertainment. Go through the entertainment subtopics and you'll see it's all kinds of stuff about, you know, kids entertainment and celebrity stuff and just stuff that generally I just don't really want to show up for. You know, I'd rather just not show it and show the other 2.5 million other sites rather than those. You know, I think I'm okay with that.
Right. Okay, and then I guess the final piece of the puzzle here for running any kind of campaign is something has to show to the user. So what are you doing with ads? And this one hurts me because I do like the responsive ads. I've had a good run with those, if you will.
Yeah. This next one is time consuming. I don't make this one lightly, and that's why I put the label of time consuming on it, is because I know this requires going outside of Google Ads, using resources that, you know, maybe you have to hire someone or you have to learn a new skill. And the thing is, if you really want a level of control and certainty on this, you know, it's not necessarily simple, but it's a bit more effective and precise, is don't use the responsive ads. Create your own JPEG or PNG or GIF or HTML5. You know, create your own ads.
Your own images.
In particular, HTML5. Jason, the other day I uploaded some new HTML5 ads, and I was going through working on some stuff and I happened to click back into the ad group. In like 10 minutes, they were approved. Bam, just like that. I mean, that doesn't happen when you do a responsive ad. We're talking like a day, 2 days. It takes a long time. And then you get lots of like, oh, this is illegal in Russia. And nope, can't do this because this is we just came up with a new medical drug that your keyword covers. Like what? What? You get so much disapproval now. Google's just a bunch of like X's all over the place. And if you can get that HTML5 ad run through there, it has animated aspects to it. It has movement in the ad. It has your own custom text. It looks so much better. It approves fast and, create a lot of different sizes and stuff like that. And I think, if you have the resources, it's so much nicer.
And is this an approval thing? Is this a preference thing, or is this a performance thing?
The approval thing it's just a hassle. Yeah, it's just a preference. I mean, I hate to have to deal with all the. I'm sure you've seen it, where it's like this is illegal. Russia,
right.
Illegal stuff, and you're like, what? I can't say the word fish in Russia. Like what's the problem here? So yeah, it's mainly just efficiency. And think about this.
What are you selling me steak knives here on my front porch? Think about this with your hands out.
I'm going to pull it out of my truck. Here you go. Think about this, sir. Here, hold this steak. Think about this. The ad that the person sees is the only thing that they experience of your entire display campaign, right? If you just throw up some crappy responsive ads with some crappy headlines and some crappy images, that's the only thing they see. So if you put a little bit of effort into HTML5 ads, I mean, it immediately brings a level of engagement and the level of professionability. What is that? Is that the level of?
You just say professional, and I'll finish it off for you.
Professional
ism.
Thank you. Brings that up.
Professionalism.
That is. Why was that so hard in my brain? Anyway, but that's
kind of like Louisville.
Oh gosh, no, it's not.
Same grammatical
Stupid
structure.
Name, like Louisville. That's how it's. Louis is spelt different.
St. Louis.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right, so Chris, kind of before we get into some risk to maybe watch out for and some tests to run, kind of recap for us here before we get into Optio. My take so far is you've built something very simple. Mm-hmm. And this for me would take like 20 minutes. Like this is simple, other than the ad part. So simple's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But at the same time, think about how much you've taken the massive ocean of 3 million display network opportunities and shrunk that down to just your topics or just your audiences for the times you want, the location you want. That's a huge one. That really shrinks it down. Mm-hmm. And then you've gotten rid of the mobile app. So one thing I'm worried about, I saw can't give the example, but you can abuse this strategy is my point. We need to throw that out there. You gotta be careful with your topics. Like there's just, how there's like maybe like home and garden, and then below home and garden, there's like planting flower beds as a topic or flower beds. There's a lot of like higher level topics that you can get more granular if you go down. Yes. And if you do one of the higher level topics, and if you do one of the higher level audiences, this whole thing I'm talking about simple and locked down, it's not that locked down.
No.
So you kind of have to pay attention to what topics and what audiences you're choosing. Would you say that's the most crucial aspect of this kind of simple, cheap, effective strategy, is getting those right, or at least not being dumb about them?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. If you choose too many of the sub categories, and it's like people who like orange dog sweaters, something that's super specific. I don't think that actually exists, but if that existed, that's too specific. You've gone too far. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to step back maybe a level or two, get into the mid-tier type of stuff. I don't want you to go with just the highest level where there's millions of possibilities But let's go
but
with the mid-tier.
If you're dog grooming, if you're dog grooming and there's a topic for pets versus a topic for dog grooming, I mean, I guess you could try the pets one, but both. I'd be more inclined to wow. So you're saying you would want to try both?
I'd say both. Yeah. Now, optimization on this is down the line. We haven't talked about, what do I do on week 2, 3, 4, but at least at the beginning of this, when you're testing it, I'd say choose both, but be aware you're going to get more impressions on the higher level or the more generic stuff. And that's fine.
So you think there's a bigger mistake you could make by going too granular with the strategy?
Yeah, same thing with the
missing out on other good topics and audiences. Okay.
Yeah, because the more granular,
Chris, that's such a mindset. That's such a mindset shift.
Yeah.
From search.
Well, the same reason we don't get on the show here and say, listen, you need to have 1,500 exact match keywords. It's the same idea. We talk about adding and starting with, lazy man build of modified broad. Choose a few modified broad, and then let's talk in a week or two. Let's start with some mid-tier level topics and audiences, and we'll talk in a week or two. That's the idea. That's, this is effectively, sounds like, this is the display lazy man build. How about that? Let's call it that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna press you in the after show for some examples because it's just built into me. I hate going too big on display. Yeah. And maybe that's a preference thing, but we'll get into that with Patreon.
All right, guys. Quick reminder, optio.com/PSP2. Fill out the form on there. Let them know that you heard about their tool on the Paid Search Podcast, and you can get an 8-week free trial. It's a great tool. I tell you about it every week, and you're going to like it. It helps you do things faster in Google Ads. That's what it's designed to do. It's not a Facebook tool that they said, hey, we can also get people to buy YouTube and Google Ads stuff too. No, this is a Google Ads tool. It's because they respect you and they know that your time is important, and they didn't build some winky-dink little Facebook thing and then throw in Google Ads as a second afterthought. This is a powerful tool. You just got handed a master tool. Be responsible.
So, Chris, people like me who hear this strategy, and it is simple, it is cheap, it can be effective, but we're Google Ads experts. We can't hide our egos. We want to optimize right from the start. You've got some risky, you call them risky strategies where maybe you can add on to the very simple strategy we mentioned earlier in the show. But there's possible downsides to that. So why don't you go through some of these quote unquote risky optimization?
Guys, these are
strategies.
Risky. All right. First, the reason I call it risky is because here's what the risk is. Obviously, there's always a risk with display because you can get stupid placements and dumb, you spend money on things you don't want to spend money on, and clicks that you don't really want to pay for. So it's not risky because of that. It's risky because it can restrict your success. It can restrict your placement opportunities, and it can restrict your ability to have inventory to show up on. And when you do that, your CPCs go up. So if your CPCs go up, you start to lose the effectiveness of, a campaign like this. So here we go. First thing that you could try is you could consider blocking computer entirely, or tablet entirely, or mobile entirely, and only show up on one of them. So, if you were to block mobile, it's going to block, 60%, 70% of your potential inventory of impressions, so it's risky. You could try it, but maybe this is the kind of thing you do a little bit later down the line. But keep in mind, watch what you're, especially if you're on automated CPM bidding, something like that, watch what it does to your CPCs. Be aware of your impression volume and kind of where you're showing up. But that's a risky thing you could try.
Chris, as someone who's kind of had publishing websites before, and I know the other side of things, the AdSense side, the side that displays the ads, I do agree with you. There is risk to turning off computer or mobile right from the start, because a lot of publishers out there maybe on their computer version of their website, their desktop version, they have AdSense placement and they have big prominent ads. And then maybe on mobile, they have some kind of weird mobile setup where they're not focused on ads. They're more focused on people to get them to download their app, and it's more content heavy. Well, say you're in hunting and fishing or something like that, and you're trying to sell those products, and there's some huge hunting and fishing website that primarily runs ads on their computer version of their website and not mobile. If you've turned off computer, you've missed that opportunity before you even had a shot to see it. And that's what this whole strategy is about, is finding opportunities and potential. So I do agree with you. Really, I cannot justify turning off computer or mobile, at least those two, right from the start of this kind of campaign. I want to see everything that's out there. And for the publishers out there, I'm going to know that their mobile site in terms of ad inventory can be very different from their desktop site in terms of ad inventory. So I want to see what's out there before I kind of turn stuff off. So I agree. That is a risky thing to do.
And for the next risky behavior, we're going to come back to what we talked about at the top, which is combining the targets. So you can combine audiences and your content targeting. So in other words, you can combine your in-market audience plus, your specific topic that you're doing. But keep in mind, the complexity goes up, your CPCs go up, it will limit the reach that you get, the impressions that you're able to get. So it's risky because it's going to add more work. You're likely to get a very small amount of impressions, especially if you have CPM bidding, automated bidding, or manual bidding where you just put everything in the same bid. Complexity goes up, and more questions come in. So you could try it, but I'd only try it if you're comfortable with display and you know what to do. So it's certainly going to be safe, but
that's such
advanced.
That's such a not starting out strategy. That's such an optimization strategy, because what we're talking about here is $100 a month, $300 a month. If you want to go that small, just start it out, and you're trying to gather information. So what could happen is you could look at your ad group report after 1 or 2 months, and you could go, oh, this is a standout topic. This topic is doing great for me. And then, oh, this is a standout audience. This one's doing good too. What if I combine them and put them together? Or, oh, this topic is very high volume, but not the best click-through rate, maybe conversion rate, but definitely click-through rate. But it's high volume, but this audience is a very high click-through rate and actually is getting conversions. What if I combine this awesome audience with this high volume, somewhat on topic? You can start doing those things as you optimize, but you're not going to find out their individual performance unless you put them kind of separate. So I agree with you there. Yeah,
you made that. That's the important part, is you don't know how many impressions a topic can get by itself or an audience can get by itself. But if you combine two, it immediately restricts that to a very small fraction of what it would be by itself. So that's an excellent point. You need to know individual success. All right. So last thing, this one's a bit of a stretch, and I'm gonna share a little hidden tip here that you may not even know exists. There is something called additional format options. When you build a new ad, a responsive ad in display, there is something called additional format options. And when you expand that option, there are 3 different areas that you can turn off or on. Asset enhancements, auto-generated video, and native formats. You could, if you wanted, turn those 3 off. Okay, I'm calling this a risky behavior because it's going to limit some of the dynamic and responsive aspects of your ad, but you have a bit more control over how it looks. But again, my suggestion was creating your own ads, but you could play with that. The auto-generated videos, they kind of suck. They look pretty dumb. The native formats, what it does is it blends your ad to make it look seamless with the website that it's on. So it really changes the format of it. Sometimes it looks kind of shady because it's the kind of thing you can click on and not realize you're clicking on an ad. So that's might be something you want to turn off.
Those might get you a high bounce rate.
Those might get you. Yeah, what Jason means is it gets you a high click-through rate, which means people are clicking on it accidentally.
Right.
So, and then last is the asset enhancement, which will change the zooming and the framing of your images because Google says, well, this will look better because it'll fill up more space. So if you want to turn that off, you could. So there's a lot of variety that Google will go through to make your ad look very different from what the samples they show you. So you can turn that off.
Chris, you're a man who's in control all the time. You love control, as do I. Mm-hmm. The display network must be tough for you in some regards. Because, if you found whatever this additional format options area is, and
I knew you didn't know about
that you can turn off asset enhancements. No, I'm too busy making money, right. Okay?
And I'm not worried about there's a new button. Oh, look at the new button. I'm going to research it.
Yeah, I had never heard of that, and I guess you'll do a video on it and show us. As always with Google Ads, my thing is like, man, I would love to be able to segment out my auto-generated videos and see what the data is on those. Maybe there's a way to do it, but not off the top of my head. So finally, Chris, testing are you saying test this strategy versus smart display campaign? Or are you saying just test a smart display campaign?
So, yeah, the last thing, this is a stretch, and it's kind of like, let's go out with a bang. Let's people, you think I'm crazy suggesting all this that I've suggested, super simple approach. Let's say all of that is frustrating, and you're like, I don't want to friggin' do that. I don't have time for that. I got 2 minutes, a week to devote to my Google Ads. Okay, fine. Set up a smart display campaign. Put the budget on it really low. And just let it run. Okay. That's probably, you could try it, see what happens. Nothing's going to hurt if you run $1 a day, $2 a day, something like that. Just, there's a lot of interesting things that you might see. Now, of course, smart display campaigns are kind of oxymorons because you can't see what's happening, and it's a smart display campaign. So it's just going to do what it wants, but it's not going to tell you. It's kind of a smart aleck display campaign. So if it works really well, good luck duplicating it. But low budget, low risk, low money. So that's the idea. And that's it. That is the lazy man approach to display campaigns. That's how I would do it. So do you
want a simple, cheap, and effective display campaigns? Should I put lazy man in the title and kind of brand this as the same as a...
People like that lazy man. And you know what we're going to get.
Okay.
And in a couple months, a couple years, couple months, people are going to say, hey, what was the episode number of that one where you talked...
lazy man
they're going to say, what was that lazy man display? And we're going to like, I don't know. That was like 400 episodes ago. So that way put it right in the title. Otherwise, people are going to want to know.
Chris, we're going to... do something interesting here. We're going to move over to Patreon, move over to our after show. We encourage everyone to join us there. I'm making a note for myself here. I don't know for what business I'm going to do this for.
Okay.
But I'm going to put in $100, $300, $500, $600, something like that into a lazy man display campaign.
Cool.
For either the Paid Search Podcast or something, and try just like what you're laying out here, and then we're going to do part 2 of this maybe in like a month or two.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about the results that we saw and then how we optimized it.
Beautiful.
And so we'll kind of seal the deal here. We talked about how to set it up. Now we'll talk about what kind of results it got, what kind of hurdles we ran into, what kind of opportunities we found, and then how we optimized and whether or not it worked. So watch for that follow-up episode in about a month and a half. And we thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the after show.